So of course, last night, the Miami Heat officially clinched the playoff spot versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, thanks to Davion Mitchell, meaning that our first round pick goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who will pick at 15, which we keep talking about this. Does that not terrify anybody else? Like, I feel like more people should be talking about this because the Thunder are favorites to win the championship this year, and they're going to have another damn near lottery pick. They literally have like 15 first round picks in the next 7 years. Like, so much that they quite literally, again, cannot afford to pay all of these first round picks. Meaning at some point, they're going to have to do some sort of consolidation trade. Whether it's for Kevin Durant, which would be pretty cool, or for Giannis, or for Nikola Jokic. They could probably get both. Who's to say they can't trade 6 firsts for Giannis and 7 firsts for Jokic? I don't know. It's terrifying to think about. And they have Nikola Topic coming back next season too, their first round pick from last year. But anyways, we need to win the championship this year because for years to come, the Thunder are about to dominate. But that's way too long on something that's not the point of this video. But Heat fans, listen, I too preferred to keep our draft pick as much as the next guy. But that being said, if last night, if you didn't enjoy this,
and Toronto Raptors lines it up, he hits a three.
Or this,
Mitchell again.
Or if you didn't jump off your couch straight up barking at your TV after this,
Mitchell jumper. Oh yeah.
then you're not a real Heat fan. And let me assure you, I'm not the fan police. Wait a damn minute. It's telling me right here that 52.5% of y'all have Terry Rozier as your favorite player? That's crazy. Hey, make sure y'all subscribe to fix that. Let's get back into the video. Fan however you want to fan. If you're optimistic, if you're pessimistic, if you're a casual or not, I don't care. I think there's a lot of great coverage out there for all different types of fans, and some people just enjoy different things. That's fine, of course. But if you didn't find last night to be absolutely thrilling, then you just don't enjoy good basketball. And I can say that I had fun watching the Heat win last night, while also acknowledging that it very likely negatively impacts our future. Because of course, the Heat are still mid. I mean, this is our 3rd straight year being in the play-in. So let's not kid ourselves. They're probably not going to win a championship, although in the same breath, I'll tell you that they're going to beat the Cavaliers. But the point is, I don't think it's smart for the Heat to keep running it back and continually being in the play-in. It just makes no sense. And it does seem like the front office starts to get tricked with these couple of deep playoff runs that they had and these couple of great games that some guys are having. And they might try to overpay these role players who just are what they are. They're role players. But the Heat front office might overvalue them, and I kind of think that's why the Jimmy Butler era ultimately ended up being unsuccessful. Especially when you talk about a guy like Tyler Hero, who definitely took a big leap this season, and through 2 postseason games, both playing games versus the Bulls and the Hawks, he's been phenomenal. But I want to continue to see this great play from him consistently, and especially in the playoffs, because the good season he had in general and the few good postseason games he had so far, that's not enough for me to justify giving him a max extension, which is what he is due for come October. So if Tyler Hero does have a good playoffs, I just hope they kind of take into account that we haven't really seen it consistently yet. Unless, of course, we do. I mean, if Tyler Hero goes into this postseason round 1 versus the Cavs, and if he averages 30 a night on efficient shooting, well, then okay, I'm convinced. But until then, I don't think Tyler Hero's a $50 million a year player. And again, that's not me hating. Tyler Hero is a phenomenal player who's had a great season and a great 2 play-in games so far. But that doesn't mean that you're worth $50 million. When you're talking about $50 million, you're talking about a guy who can be the guy on a championship team. And Tyler Hero just hasn't proven that yet. But it remains to be seen what this team will do in the playoffs. But all of that to the side, it's not all bad news because, of course, the Heat still have a first-round pick. While they don't have their own, they have the Golden State Warriors pick, which we got during the Jimmy Butler trade. It was top 10 protected, but since the Warriors clinched the playoffs after their play-in win versus the Grizzlies, they're officially the 7th seed. They're officially in the playoffs, meaning that they can't be top 10 because their pick was top 10 protected. So the Heat will definitely have the Warriors pick, which is currently slotted at 18. but they are tied with the Grizzlies and the Bucks for that 18 spot. So what's going to happen is on Monday at 3 p.m., there's going to be a random drawing to determine if the Bucks, Grizzlies, or Warriors get the 18th, 19th, or 20th pick, which I do think can make a big difference. So hopefully the Heat get lucky there, but we'll find out later on Monday. So to kind of recap where things stand as far as the draft picks, the Heat do not have their own 2025 pick. That goes to OKC, but we do have the Warriors pick this year, so at least we get a first round pick. And then the other good news is we definitely will have our 2026 pick, so we will have a pick next year. Our 2027 pick will go to Charlotte for the Terry Rozier trade, which we got into in a video a couple days ago. Just a shame that the Heat pulled that off, because it would have been so nice to have that other asset. And instead we got a guy in Terry Rozier who can't even crack the rotation. And here I am getting all worked up again, but we're not going to get into that. So their 2027 pick will go to Charlotte. But the good news is it is lottery protected. So if we get to 2027 and the Heat suck again, or they still suck, and we do miss the playoffs, we will have our pick in 27. It'll just get pushed to 2028 unprotected. But we'll worry about that when the time comes. For right now, that 2027 pick is going to Charlotte, and the Heat will definitely have their 2028 pick. Now, I believe as far as tradable picks, after the draft, they will also be able to trade 2030 and 2032. So there actually is some shenanigans the Heat can pull on draft night where they could draft a player for another team and then potentially still trade up to 4 first-round picks, I believe, because they could trade 26, 28, 2030, and 2032. I believe that's accurate, although 2032 doesn't technically open up until after the draft ends, which is why they could just draft a player for another team and send them over to whatever team they make a trade with. So the Heat do have some assets to work with here. But nevertheless, a lot of Heat fans are still mad because they wanted the pick this year in the 2025 draft, which is supposedly loaded. That's kind of my logic too. That's why I wanted the pick. But at the end of the day, you just got to let fate decide, because for all we know, maybe this draft class ends up being terrible. Maybe Cooper Flagg ends up being not that good. Maybe Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper aren't great either. I mean, all this talk about those two people, they were on the same team in college. They played for Rutgers. That team didn't even make the tournament. So how good are those guys really going to be? We don't know. So all we know, maybe this draft is a flop, and maybe next year in 2026, maybe that draft's incredible. Maybe the Heat go into there with their pick that they now have because they made the playoffs, and maybe they draft a Hall of Famer. We have no idea. So to help me stay sane and to help me justify and continuing to try to be optimistic with making the playoffs, for all we know, it could all work out, but time will tell. You know, we really won't be able to fairly judge what the Heat should have done until 10 years from now, when we can look back in hindsight and kind of see where everything falls into place. Now, that being said, we were the 11th pick if we had missed the playoffs. That now belongs to Dallas, who of course lost their playing game to the Grizzlies. So Dallas will now pick 11th. And according to Tankathon, they have a 1.8% chance at the top pick and an 8.5% chance at a top 4 pick. And if Dallas wins the lottery, oh, then I'm going to be mad. Oh, then I'm going to be heated. No pun intended. Because theoretically, those would have been our ping pong balls. Basically, how it works is all of these teams have a set number of lottery numbers. So, for example, the teams 1 through 3 will have like 100 numbers, where Dallas and 11 will have like 2 numbers. And basically, they pull some ping pong balls. And obviously, the more numbers you have, the better chance you have of winning the lottery. It's like if you play the Florida Powerball, you obviously have a better chance if you buy 1,000 tickets instead of just 1. So that's kind of how that whole process works. So if Dallas ends up winning the lottery, that would have been us. That would have been the Heat. And then I'll be heated. Like, literally imagine you buy a lottery ticket and then you just give it to your friend and your friend wins. That's what this would be. So I will be tuned into the draft lottery, praying that doesn't happen, because then I might not be able to sleep at night. But again, we'll see what happens, and we'll worry about that if it happens. So what I want to do now is pull up the Ringers draft ranking so we can kind of take a brief look at some of the guys that might fall into the Heat's range at 18, 19, or 20. The Ringer actually does a great job on their website breaking down these prospects, but it's ran by Bill Simmons, and I hate that bum. And I always have to say that whenever we use the ringer. But we'll scroll through the top guys here because, of course, the Heat don't really have a chance at any of them here. As we start to get to the 8 to 10 range, that's obviously where the Heat would have picked had they missed the playoffs. This guy right here, Kasparas Jusionis, is like a true point guard. He's a guy I was pretty interested in. Trey Johnson had some Tyler Hero comparisons, so I was okay on that because we got Tyler Hero at home. Jeremiah Fears, they have at 13, is obviously the guy that me and a lot of other Heat fans wanted. He reminds me of De'Aaron Fox to a T, but we'll go ahead and start at number 15 here and maybe spend a little bit of time looking at 15 through 25, because theoretically those are guys that could fall to 18 to 20, which is where that Warriors pick will be. First, they got this guy, Igor Denham, who I have heard about. He's kind of like a big playmaker. They have him listed at 6'9", and some of his badges are feel for the game, passing virtuoso, on-ball defense, floor general. Obviously, all things that the Heat could desperately need because they need a true point guard. And if you can get one that's not a liability on the defensive end, that would be incredible. Although this 18% from three is terrifying. Some of his player comps, Sean Livingston, Kyle Anderson, I guess that makes sense, Josh Giddey. But yeah, that wouldn't be a bad guy play style-wise. Danny Wolf at 16, most of y'all know by now. This is the guy that I want. To make things short, they call him Baby Jokic. 7 feet tall, has excellent playmaking, ball handling. Seriously, he looks like a 7-foot white Kyrie Irving sometimes out there. Maybe that's a bit of an over-exaggeration. Crafty finisher. He could hit the 3-ball a little bit. Yeah, if you see the player comps, Hedo Turkoglu, Bielitsa, we don't like that as Heat fans, but he's a very, very skilled big. Kind of provides some opposite things of Khalil Ware, and for that reason, I think he could be pretty complimentary, and the Heat definitely need a backup big. Asa Newell, I also know about. He's kind of like a big wing. He has athleticism, interior scoring, hustle, versatility. These last two kind of sound like Heat culture, but obviously the Heat could definitely use some interior scoring, although he's not a great three-point shooter either. But obviously in this range, no one's going to be a perfect prospect. Zeke Naji is, again, a terrible comparison because that guy's cheeks might have the worst contract in the NBA, but you see a lot of athletic bigs here. Claxton, Achua, obviously we're familiar with, Marvin Bagley. So definitely provides some athleticism and speed to a Heat team that could use it. Nick Clifford, we're also familiar with. We talked about him in another video. A very versatile, switchable 4 type of guy, sort of like the Haywood Highsmith mold. But the reason I don't love it is because he's 23 years old. He'd be better on a ready-to-win now team. That's just not really the Miami Heat. But you see some good comparisons here. Moses Moody, Josh Hart, those type of guys would fit well in the Heat system. At 19, we got a guy named Yaxel Lindenberg, who I'm not familiar with. A 6'9" playmaking guard with good feel for the game, positional versatility, and he's a tank. I'm intrigued. What's those player comps? Jalen Williams, not J-Dub, the other one. Marcus Morris, Jeremiah Robinson Earl. Okay, so it looks like a little bit of a versatile big, maybe kind of a guy like that could play the Jovic role or Kyle Anderson role if they were to trade him. Interesting. I do like the idea of getting someone with some more size, although I don't love the idea of getting someone who's over 22. Ben Seraph, I am familiar about. He's a very good point guard. Again, he has the passing virtuoso badge, playmaking, ball handling. He's a guy that can run an offense, which we just said the Heat need. 24% from three isn't good. I don't like the idea of getting a 6'5" guard who can't shoot, but he's 19 years old, so he certainly has time to learn. Some player comps, we like Goran Dragic. Obviously, that's awesome. Micic, Brandon Jennings, Ramon Sessions. I also do know that right here, he's from Israel. So is Mickey Harrison. I wonder if that would have an impact, although clearly a lot of Heat fans would be upset with that, and I understand. 21, Colin Murray Boyles is a 6'7". Looks like he's a guard. What is he? Has a good feel for the game. On off-ball defense. Oh, off-ball defense. He could use some of that too. Post presence. 6'7" with post presence. What are they drafting? Another Jaime Jaquez Jr.? He's only 20 years old, though. I don't know. I don't like the idea of a 6'7" guy whose badge is post presence. Although Anthony Mason's here, Draymond Green, and Metta World Peace. Okay, so he must be a really legit defender then. But the Heat got guys for that. You know, they got Davion Mitchell, who they hopefully should resign. They got Haywood Highsmith, Bam Adebayo, Khalil Ware. But still, you know, it's nice to bring in a Heat culture type guy, I suppose. At 22, Noah Esengu, who is only 18 years old, which we like, 6'9", super young and gangly athletic. Is that racist? Gangly athletic? I don't know about that. Whose constellation of unrefined talents could point to star upside, athleticism, positional versatility. Frenchman. I don't know. I like the idea of taking a high upside pick on a Heat team that's probably not going to compete next year. Again, it depends if you get a star, but then if you go after a star, you're probably trading this pick anyways. But if not, I do prefer taking the high upside guy. Darius Baisley, who was a guy similar, came in with a lot of potential, never really panned out. Isaac Bonga, Tayshaun Prince, and Coulibaly. Obviously, those last two names would excite you as Heat fans. 23, Liam McNeely from UConn, has one of the whitest names I ever heard. Looks like one of the whitest boys ever. Catch and shoot threat. Makes sense. Off-ball mover. Looks the part of a sizable floor spacing forward. I mean, if he's a stretch four at 6'7", he's not that tall either. But player comps, Corey Kispert, Hauser, Caleb Houston, yeah. Bunch of shooters. Maybe if the Heat lose Duncan Robinson, he'd be good insurance there. 24, Nolan Traore. Is 19 years old, 6'3" guard, another floor general. Looks like they have a lot of floor generals in this range. Ball handling, crafty finisher, another guy from France with some player comps of Jeff Teague, 8% taller, Facundo Campazzo. That's hilarious. But yeah, it's nice to know there's a lot of playmakers in this range because the Heat still don't have a point guard, even though Davion Mitchell's assist-to-turnover ratio been crazy. And the last guy we'll look at here is Will Riley, 26. He's 6'8", stretched out wing. It says stretched out wing was rare compendium. No idea what that means. Of on and off ball skills and has never met a contested shot he didn't like. We're good on that. We've seen Tyler Hero do that a bunch too. Says he's a pull-up threat. I don't know. Kind of sounds like a shot chucker type to me. Even though they got Nikola Jovic as his comparisons, which really doesn't make any sense. I don't feel like Nikola Jovic is a pull-up threat or an off-ball mover. But they also got Jett Howard, Kevin Martin, some really good shooters there. And if we want to shout out Walter Clayton, because I know a lot of people are going to ask me to do that, they actually do have him at number 26. Obviously, most people are very familiar of his great run with Florida. Player comps, Keontae George, CJ McCollum, Jared Butler, Jamal Murray. Yeah, older talent, definitely a guy that looks like he could play right away. But again, I'm kind of looking for upside guys in this draft. But anyways, that's kind of it with regards to draft picks. I don't really plan on doing a whole video on my predictions or previewing the Heat series versus the Cavs. But what I will say is I said Heat in 6 from the start. I'm going to keep it. And the reason is because, a few reasons, I guess. I think the Heat match up well. A couple years ago, they matched up terrible. You had no size. And you don't have a lot of size now, especially off the bench. You have no one. Jovic was available last game, didn't play. He might need to just because he's 6'10". But Kevin Love is out again with personal reasons. We hope everything's good there. But at least in the starting lineup, you got Khalil Ware, you got Bam. Spo hasn't been playing Khalil Ware a lot, but I feel like now he has to. By default, he has to. He played 22 minutes versus the Hawks. I want to see him play 35 minutes plus. He's been playing well. They're going to need his size. And if that's the case, you got the front court solidified with him and Bam. And then I think Davion Mitchell, he might even get the start over Alec Burks this series. Just because the versatility of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell in the Cavs front court, you're going to need a guy who could pressure them all game. And obviously Davion Mitchell could do that. I feel like Davion could limit Donovan. I feel like the Heat front court could match what the Cavs front court is doing. And then at the end of the day, I give the edge to the guys who have been there before, the dogs of Heat culture, compared to the Cavaliers, who just a couple years ago, you had Jared Allen saying the lights were too bright. Imagine Davion Mitchell ever uttering the phrase, the lights were too bright for me. They're soft. They're a soft team. Now, I like the roster. They got some great players over there. I obviously love Donovan Mitchell. I really like the whole roster. Even Max Strus. You got to worry about Max Strus killing us. That is an aspect that does scare me. But outside of that, they're soft. You have on the Heat side, Bam, Tyler. They've been to multiple finals. Andrew Wiggins, NBA champion. They just have more guys on the roster that I trust. And they have Eric Spoelstra, which is the biggest benefit of them all. Unless he doesn't play Khalil Ware more than 30 minutes. Then I'm going to be in these post games very mad at him. But that being said, we'll see what happens. Let me know y'all predictions and thoughts down below. Make sure to subscribe, comment. All that good stuff is greatly appreciated. And I'll see you on the next video. Peace out, everyone.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.